Because this is a unilateral act of the Democratic Alliance, and the minister is just a pawn, unfortunately, who's been tossed aside by Helen Ziller. And
this is a glaring invitation for litigation, saying you've never seen a more spectacular mess up of the process.
Indeed it is, but this is DA style of arrogance, no respect of law unless it suits them. And it's clearly a way to undermine the sovereignty of South Africa, even our digital sovereignty, to bring in entities like Starlink, as you heard in the White House, as if they're coming to solve our issues of crime. The failures that was created by the very president who was sitting there and his party, the failure to protect our borders, the failure to curb crime, and now we want to get an American technology to come and resolve it. And in so doing, we must bend our own legislations, regulations, and our Electronic Communications Act to do so. Totally unnecessary.
Why would Donald Trump, a US president with access to the best intelligence in the world, believe a dangerous lie that white South Africans are facing genocide, when even white-led institutions, top media outlets, and South Africans' farmer unions say it's not true? Is this really about justice, or is it about business, like Elon Musk Starlink dodging South Africa's black economic empowerment laws? I'm Kondos, and welcome to Ikari It's Time, where we speak truth to power and fight for justice for the voiceless majority. Today, we unpack a troubling narrative being pushed intentionally that white Afrikaners in South Africa are victims of genocide. Not only is this claim false, but is being used as a smokescreen to override laws designed to uplift the black majority in a country still healing from apartheid. Let's dig deep into the facts and the politics behind this propaganda. The false genocide narrative. They claim that white South Africans, especially Afrikaner farmers, are victims of genocide, has been widely debunked. AgriSA, which represents farmers in South Africa, has publicly rejected this narrative. Numerous studies, including those by South African crime analysts, show that farm murders are a tragic reality, but they affect all races and are driven by crime, not race-based extermination. Prominent white South Africans themselves have denounced the idea of white genocide as sensationalist and untrue.
To all of the South African Afrikaans refugees that are coming to America soon, I just want to let you know, as someone whose wife is Afrikaans, who's been to South Africa multiple times, you're gonna have a bad time. There's no white genocide happening in South Africa. You have crime that's happening as a result of racism-fueled generational economic inequality, the same thing that's happening in America. We're just a couple decades ahead of you on the unchecked capitalism timeline. But I have good news for you. You don't have to worry about the cheap exploited labor rising up against you anymore, because now that you're in America, you'll get to be the cheap exploited labor. If you were middle class or upper middle class in South Africa and you come to America, you're poor now. Like, really poor. You're not gonna have maids and gardeners and personal servants that you can pay $15 a day for. Now you get to be the cheap labor. But by all means, please come to America and experience the American capitalism that Elon Musk's been raving about to you. You'll probably love it. You know, what do I know? There's probably very little chance that you'll end up going back to South Africa in a year or two after realizing how overpriced and fucked up America is. I wouldn't even worry about that as a possibility. And if you think I'm being mean to these people because I think they're a bunch of racist, bigoted colonizers who wish they could go back to apartheid South Africa, it's just because I do think that. But to them, I say, welcome to the American dream. Please let me know when you've woken up from it.
Why Trump believes it? Why would someone like Donald Trump, with access to powerful intelligence networks, push this false narrative? One word: interests. Specifically, business interests. Trump is heavily influenced by Elon Musk, a white South African-born billionaire and owner of Starlink. Musk wants Starlink to operate in South Africa without following broad-based black economic empowerment (BBBEE) laws. These laws are essential tools designed to correct economic injustices inherited from apartheid by ensuring black South Africans benefit from economic opportunities.
Necessary. The South African government can, with the will and with the right skill, meet rural connectivity. We've got the budget over the last 20 years, over 10 billion and more has been spent on rural connectivity. But the corruption of the ANC and now the GNU has made it impossible for us to roll out those. We've got CETA, we've got Centec, we've got broadband infraco, USASA, all being funded annually by government to provide rural connectivity. So what is the point of Elon Musk? We've got satellite operators here in South Africa who some of them are complying to the BEE regulations, historically disadvantaged ownership of those entities.
Yes.
We've got drones that are here in South Africa that are operating, some on the unlicensed band. So what is really the issue? The issue is not that we are lacking technology. They want to bring Starlink
and bypassing BBEE laws. Currently, Starlink isn't allowed to operate directly in South Africa unless it complies with BBEE legislation. But DA Minister Solly Malatsi is reportedly working to bypass this law to accommodate Starlink. Who is pushing back? The majority of parties in parliament, the EFF, the ANC, and others are rejecting any attempts to bypass BBEE laws. But it's the MKP, Kondos party, through its Member of Parliament, Colleen Makubele, that is leading the charge, boldly declaring, "No, you will not undermine the economic empowerment of the black majority in this country. The only major party pushing in the opposite direction is the DA."
Controversy is brewing over the potential easing of regulations by Communications Minister Solly Malatsi over Starlink. Starlink is a network of satellites operated by Elon Musk, SpaceX, providing satellite internet access coverage to a number of countries, including neighboring Botswana, Lesotho, and Mozambique.
Starlink is another alternative way of providing internet connectivity in very remote areas. So what Starlink does is they've got these satellites, they're called low-orbit satellites, that sit about 600 kilometers above the Earth's surface, and they just transmit down to Earth. They transmit data. If you've got a receiver and you want to connect to the internet, it allows you to connect. They've got about 8,000 of these satellites that really blanket the Earth and just allows you to connect to the internet in remote areas, providing low latency, high-speed connectivity.
On Friday, Malatsi gazetted a policy in which broad-based black economic empowerment will be eased to accommodate such companies. Member of the official opposition who serves in Parliament's Communications Portfolio Committee says these regulations will never be approved without the buy-in of legislators. Makubele says these draft regulations are anti-transformative and demands Malatsi to account before parliamentarians on Tuesday.
It cannot be done without the approval of Parliament, let me put it that way, because the legislature, the acts, this is a function of Parliament, and we have an oversight role as legislators and in our committees to oversee it. And if you want to do anything, introduce regulations, you must first change the act. So you can't introduce a junior regulation to ease without changing the act. It cannot be in conflict with the act. And even in introducing regulations, there are processes that you follow that have been flawed already.
Other parties have raised their objection to the draft regulations, citing that the rules cannot be bent to favor Musk.
South Africa cannot create laws specifically for Elon Musk. We know that even with the World Cup, the amendment of the legal framework had to do with what is good for South Africa. And even in this instance, we know that the issues about what the minister has raised must actually find expression in the parliamentary processes, and we should actually allow a situation where the portfolio committee, as it has committed, must actually summon the minister and let the minister come and account and explain himself, because there's also a misunderstanding of what his powers are.
Today, a tender is given in White House without advertisement, where Rupert stands up and says, why is Elon Musk, Starlink, not given an opportunity in South Africa. Elon Musk's business cannot come to South Africa if it's not compliant with 30% BEE. What he did, Ramaphosa, after they asked him that, the following day, they issue out that they want to relax the BEE deals so that this Starlink can come into South Africa. There is no such a law in South Africa.
Whilst the DA has welcomed the proposed amendments,
the DA welcomes the move by Minister Mamelodi on the proposed amendments to the country's ICT legislation. The historic lack of political will and failure to amend legislation has delayed our development. This has hindered access to the economy for many South Africans. We call on all South Africans to use this opportunity to make their views known and to help ensure that their voices are heard during this historic period.
Meanwhile, the public has 30 days to comment on the draft regulations.
Meanwhile, the real genocide of black poverty continues. While Trump cries foul over a fake genocide, he ignores the very real and visible suffering of black South Africans. In places like Alexandra, Diepsloot, Mamelodi, Soshanguve, and Olvenhoutbosch, for example, the entire communities live without reliable electricity, water, sanitation, crime, and abject poverty. In Cape Town's Nyanga, Gugulethu, the Cape Flats, people battle daily with poverty, violence, and unemployment. This is the true crisis, the economic genocide of poverty and hopelessness affecting the black majority. In conclusion, I argue, this isn't about freedom of speech. It's about economic power and control. False genocide claims are being weaponized to pressure South Africa into bending its laws to accommodate foreign billionaires while ignoring the suffering of millions of black majority citizens. It's time to reject these foreign narratives and stand up for our own people. Support policies that empower the majority, not the elite. Hold politicians accountable, whether they wear blue, green, or yellow. And salute those who speak truth, like Colin Makuele and the MKP, for refusing to sell us out. This is Inkari, it's time, where we navigate life with purpose and fight for true emancipation. Like, comment, and share this video. Let's set the record straight and amplify the truth.